This summer, we enter a new era of Star Wars.
You mean the Dawn of the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast?
Yeah, sure, that too. But I was obviously talking about The Acolyte. We've got to cover that on the Lorehounds.
Oh, but the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast is exactly at that point in the timeline, the end of the High Republic, 100 years before the prequel trilogy. We've got to cover it there.
Why not both?
Okay, deal.
It's the first live-action Star Wars outside the Skywalker saga. Nobody can miss this.
Listeners, kick off your hot lore summer weekends with scene-by-scene breakdowns of The Acolyte, found in both the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast and the Lorehounds Mother feed.
And the Lorehounds Star Wars feed.
Wherever you like to listen, a couple of days after each new episode is released.
Welcome to the House of the Hounds. We are the Lorehounds, your guides to the Dance of the Dragons. I'm John.
And I'm David, and this is our coverage of the HBO Original Series, House of the Dragon. This is our coverage for Season 2, Episode 3, titled The Burning Mill.
We're going to start off with our hot takes for the episode before we get into a scene-by-scene breakdown. After that, we'll answer some listener feedback. Nope.
No,
that
we won't.
Is wrong.
Change the script.
We're changing the script right now because guess what, folks? You all have been great about sending in feedback, and Nancy M has been great about gathering it. So we're going to split off this podcast into two podcasts. One, we're going to do the recap and discussion. The other one, later in the week, we're going to do our feedback. So you have a little extra time to get in feedback, Abby.
Name dropped. I think there was even an email. Somebody said, yes, please do it just for the sake of having a little space to breathe and consider it. So, yeah.
Our non-Western hemisphere listeners.
It's a very good point.
Are really hurting to get their feedback in time. So this will help them give a few more days, probably a couple more days. I think we'll record it Wednesday or Thursday.
Even and even for us, like watching the episode one night, trying to get in a second watch and do our notes and the show guide updates and all that kind of stuff, and then get in a recording that is a beefy one because it's 2+ hours. It's a lot. So yeah, I think it makes sense all around.
Yeah. So now we'll have a 90-minute to 2-hour podcast covering the episode.
Normal.
And then probably another hour podcast covering the feedback.
Right. So send your emails to hotd@thelorehounds.com. Nancy will be glad to get them and put them into our Google Doc for us. As well, we have the Discord, and folks are having a good time chatting there, and we can scrape up some messages from that.
Support the community on Supercast or Patreon. Join the conversation on Discord and take a listen to our affiliate podcasts. You can get links to all of that in the show notes. Of course, we've talked enough about our show guide, but I want to plug it again because we're doing great work here. We're doing the Seven's work, the Mother's work.
I'm doing the old gods' work. You can go be with the Sevens.
We're doing the Mother's work, and Amy's doing the Mommy's work.
That's true. That'd be a good band name, right? The Old Gods and New.
So bet you it's something. Bet you there's something similar.
Season pass for those folks who are just cruising through, stopping by for a little bit of House of the Dragon, and then you'll come back around again for another show somewhere down the road.
But you're welcome to stay overnight.
You are. And if you want to just, jump in and support all the work that we're doing, the season pass is for you. It's $10 flat. Season 1 recap and all of our ad-free Season 2 week-to-week early access, plus the show guide, plus a set of steak knives and the potato peeler.
Come all ye consumers spurned by Netflix and cranky of recurring subscriptions. We will take you gladly.
Did you watch Hacks at all?
No.
Oh, it's very good. Anyway, she's on what is that? QVC. It's funny to see some live time QVC stuff.
I don't know
forgot
about you,
that
but
thing
my mom
exists.
is all over QVC. She sees something on QVC, she'll text me. She'll be like, "Do the kids need this?" And I'm like, "Not from there. It's 3 times the price of anywhere else."
Hilarious. Show guide. The amazing amount of work that you and Aaron and Brian are putting into the show guide continues to astound me. When I was doing my notes on my second watch, man, I was just all in the show guide. Who's this guy? Who's that person? What's going on here? Who's the dragon rider for that one? And man, it is such a helpful resource. Even during the show, I was looking up like, who's that blowhard? Oh, that's Broom. Oh, okay, yeah, that guy. So subscribers get access to it, season pass or regular subscribers. It's really a phenomenal resource. And you've got the visual show guide, including alt text and everything in there. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. It's accessible AF, as the kids say. Bet. Skibbity. All right.
You're just throwing words.
Right.
You're just throwing words around.
I'm tossing the words in. I've got that word riz. And here we go. Hot takes, David. Hit me with them.
My hot take for this episode is that this was just a really good episode of television. It was just really good. Like, right. Nothing crazy happened. Nothing crazy happened, right? Nobody got their head cut off or anything like that.
Somebody did, just off camera.
Somebody got their head sewed back on. But anyway.
Oh no, I was talking about the battle in the beginning.
That's true. I was talking about the baby in the dream sequence and the haunting. The show has a nice sense of humor around it. Remember season 1, when it was on the air contemporaneously, I just remember everybody was just like, "Oh my God, this is just so heavy. There's no humor in it." And there's a lot of little funny moments in it, especially with Aegon's F-Boys, the new Kingsguard. There's some really good stuff there. The show is looking really good. Some people on the live chat of the Discord last night when the episode was airing, they were like, it's dark, but I can see. Right.
They finally figured it out.
Exactly.
They did figure it out. Man, some of those shots, like that I got a lot of them for the show guide because I was so impressed with them. The symmetry of the Eric grave. The shot of Missaria and...
I'm in your head with the camera angle stuff.
Yeah. Well, the shot of Missaria and Rhaenyra talking with the dragon in the background, with sea smoke in the background.
Mm-hmm.
The framing of Alicent talking to Helena, her standing up next to the window, the light coming in, and the dust being illuminated. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Aemond walking down the hall, the close up on Alicent's letter to make it intimate. All of these things are just so good at framing what we're trying to feel here.
Yeah, exactly. And this episode was not, like I said, there wasn't big plot explosions, but it was super impactful. But it was really straightforward at the same time. There were some complex things happening, but it all played out very simply and understandably. I think there was a little bit of confusion around how the kids were going to get moved around from the Vale to Pentos. But I think we got that all worked out eventually.
Oh, I understand I understood the first time what they said. I think that it's just, here's the problem is that they, I've read the books, although I don't think the specific plan was necessarily note for note from the book. I'd have to go back and reread. But I just think they throw around a lot of names in a lot of places. And if you're not super into this, then yes, it is hard to follow. However, you have this podcast, and we're going to hold your hand through it, and it's going to be
this Discord and this show guide.
It's going to be all okay, folks.
You have all the things. Anyway, the point being, this is just a really nice show. I'm really enjoying the crap out of it. And this episode was just great. It just moved us along. It had a great high stakes moment at the end, and I just feel really, really good about it. And in what you were saying the other day in our hot take, our subscriber hot take, right after the episode aired, that they're cooking something. But me as the casual fan, right, as the non-book reader, I can't tell the shape of it. Yeah, we're headed towards war, but I couldn't see blood and cheese. I couldn't see the Parent Trap fight. I couldn't see, the meeting of these of the two queens. However they're rolling out the plot, it's just nice. And
it doesn't feel forced, right? You don't feel the hand
not at
of the writer.
all. And they're not, yeah, exactly. And they're not dropping the obvious breadcrumbs or having the exposition, well, blah, 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 exposition. It's a really well put together story that is nicely told with a visual language and excellent camera work and CGI work. This is just it's going to be hard to beat this as a number one show. I mean, it's going to have to be on feels because technically they have not, there's not a false note yet in the season.
Yeah. I will say this probably has already surpassed Shogun for me. It's just another level of storytelling that I can't. I just think it's a different thing that they're doing here, and this is my preferred type of media, the fantasy sci-fi side of things, and so I think I gotta give, even if it's a tie, I gotta give it to this one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's coming down to feels, right? It's gonna come down to your personal preferences. Anyway, so what did you think? Where are you at?
I like you said, I think that I'm very excited at being a book reader because in The Bear, when I didn't watch the new episodes yet, by the way, but in The Bear season 2 during the Christmas special when all the timers are going off in the kitchen, that's like we're like 10 seconds away from that. I really feel it. It feels like the lids on the pots are just jittering, and
they're doing that little jitter thing where the steam is just starting to lift them.
And Jamie Lee Curtis is about to scream and drive her car through the wall. About
3 packs of cigarettes into a 5-pack night.
Yep. And I'm just really excited for where we're going here. I think that they even used words that I didn't think they'd use yet.
Okay.
That like terms, things that will become defined terms have been used. And I'm really excited for that.
This is great because I have no concept of any of the stuff they're cooking. It's so good. Just that we're barreling towards war. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that I can detect.
And like you said, the humor of Daemon going to Harrenhal, fantastic. Fantastic. I mean, the way that they just immediately drop the whole my king thing. Amazing. Yeah. I mean, Daemon, he R.I.P. Daemon, you would have loved the Supreme Court, but I'll cut it out.
No, you can leave it. It's a harmless aside.
Anyway.
Yeah.
The point is really amazing stuff. I really love Alice Rivers, this new character. I've decided that because she is named in the production notes, I'm going to name her here.
Okay.
It doesn't tell you anything about her. Well, the last name tells you a little bit, but Alice Rivers is the name of the mysterious character being ominous with Daemon.
Okay. All right.
And she's super cool, really gets the vibes from the book. I'm excited. And we got a little Millie Alcock in there, too.
Yeah, that was fun.
Which was just a little treat.
That was fun. Yep.
Just a little treat.
With a creepy baby head.
Yeah. Really, really thrilled with this episode. I enjoyed. I literally made 2 memes of just Rhaenyra going through King's Landing. So I hope everyone will follow us on TikTok. If you want to follow us on TikTok, I'm going to promote it here.
Yeah, you are the king of TikTok.
Lorehounds. At the Lorehounds. I'm making lots of House of the Dragon memes. I even, for more substantive, people with more of a substantive heart, I made a spoiler talk about a book spoiler, how they foreshadowed something that's coming in episode 2. So I did that. I did a TikTok on that, so you can catch that on our TikTok profile. Anyway, let's get into this full episode, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, so we start with the Battle of the Burning Mill. Davos Blackwood, sworn to Rhaenyra, successfully goads the Greensworn Aaron Bracken into striking the first combat blow in the Dance of the Dragons. Both sides take heavy losses, and both men die in battle.
This felt really Capulet and Montague to me. The young guys. Take it back, sir. No, I will not take it back.
Right.
It was, and then, until somebody gets a push into a shove into a sword swing. So
they really made Davos Blackwood into a real shit starter.
Yes, he was very, even the idea that move the stones back, it's like, dude, that's a big cairn, right? I don't know. It just seemed very he was very aggrieved, and he was wearing his grievance on his sleeve. He was gonna let everybody know he was upset.
Yep. Yeah. And it's been mentioned several times on the show that the River Lords are just constantly feuding. They just hate each other. They want any excuse for war. they also did a great job laying this out in season 1 when you have Rhaenys basically saying, look, these lords have never fought a battle, and they are so hungry for war because they don't understand the horror of it.
Right.
And it's just so sad.
There's a horrible scene at the end of this. It's a great setup for this episode too. I really like the construction of setting this up right at the front and giving us this bloody battlefield, and then giving us the name of the episode. I guess by the time we recorded our hot take, the name was out already. So the Burning Mill.
Yeah.
And it just played thematically so well into the tension that they're working with Rhaenys backing Rhaenyra, who's trying to find a middle ground with Alicent, and then the idea that they finally get together. Like it really framed the issue at hand, that full-scale war just between armies of humans is bad. And
small armies.
Yeah.
These are low-level lords.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and Davos isn't even a lord.
And then you're talking about a whole country at war, and then you're talking about dragons thrown in. Like, this is bad, and this is a tenth of what's going to happen. And it just really perfectly set the stage for the rest of the season. It was so nice.
And look at the way Aegon, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but Aegon reacts later. He goes, oh, well, the Brackens, nominally won.
Nom nom. Yeah.
They nominally won. So I think that's a victory. And everyone else is like, is that a victory? Because they all died.
Yeah.
Like this, but that's the point, right? Is that
exactly the point?
The young men see the nominal victories as victories, and that's going to be a huge problem in this war. Is that they would rather sacrifice everyone and have the title than to just have peace. Whereas Rhaenyra, a little older, a little wiser, would rather have peace than the title.
Right. I think Bracken was even, I looked at the scene again a little closer today. I'm pretty sure that the face that we're zoomed in on at the end there is Bracken, and he's stabbed in the neck with his own sword. Because they were showing the pommel of his, and the hilt and the pommel of his sword at the very beginning of that scene. And a very distinctive sort of round thing with a little jewel. And as we pan up, the sword, there's that pommel, and I'm pretty sure that's his face in the mud. And so this whole idea that, here you are, young guy, big swagger, big sword, till it gets stuck in your own neck, right? And that's the whole thing between all of these, like you were saying, everybody's excited for war until you realize the true cost.
Yeah, and Aaron, of course, is a knight, technically, but as we know, any knight can make a knight, and often lords will just knight younger men who aren't lords in their household because they want them to have a title and to have some glory. And so Aaron is just sitting here just hungry for glory, hungry to prove that he is a real knight. And all I have to say is Millie Bobby Brown has come light years from Stranger Things. Really, really great work here.
Is that who this is?
No, I'm
okay.
Joking.
You're making up.
He looks like Millie Bobby Brown.
His
he facial features are very similar.
He had a really, I was like, should I know this kid? He looked really familiar.
I thought he was about to stick his hand out and just banish Blackwood back to the upside down.
Nice one.
So the brothers rest is my next scene. Eric and Eric are buried together under the orders of Rhaenyra, despite the protests of Jacaerys. Rhaenys, by the way, hold on. Jacaerys, that is how it's been said before, I think, in the show, and that's how everybody's been saying it. And now we have later, Jacaerys is how Ulf says it later.
Oh my God.
So I don't know. Somebody write in if you know the answer. What is the correct pronunciation? How about Jace? Let's go with Jace for now.
Yeah, we like Jace. Jace works. But I know we have some excellent maesters in our company, and we would love a pronunciation.
Cyrus, where you at?
Yeah. Abby.
All right.
Come on.
All right.
Help us out. Help a brother out.
So Jace didn't like that they were buried together. That's my point.
Yeah.
Rhaenys counsels Rhaenyra to reach out to Alicent to avoid further bloodshed and says that there are many moments that could be considered the start of the war.
The idea that Rhaenyra recognizes, what does she say? She says, I cannot fault him for keeping his oath. And it really struck
Right.
me because Jamie could never live down the Oathbreaker side eye that people gave him. It's one thing to be a sister effer. Sorry, I didn't want to say it like that, but to be
We're in the Game of Thrones universe. You can say whatever you want at this point.
I know. I just try to be a little bit clean. You know, one of these days we're gonna fire up our rated G pod for the family movie thing. You proposed that the other week. It's still a good idea. It's still kicking around.
I think we got to do it, but not till after Hot Lore Summer. I think
not until
I'm a little tired already.
I hear you. That he was never able. You know, he did all this other stuff, but he could never get away from the Oathbreaker thing, and it was even to the fact that he basically saved the realm from a madman, and nobody would honor or recognize that part of his action. It was Oathbreaker. And so for Rhaenyra to, recognize that Eric, kept his oath, at least it was an oath to, whatever, it was an oath, right? I just thought that was really interesting and kind of cool. And it shows, again, her grace and her mercy, which Mysaria recognizes and calls out later.
Right. Yeah, and Eric is a really tragic story, but I think between them and the Blackwood Bracken thing, you're getting this consistent message that when these houses go to war, everyone will suffer underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, and nobody will be the victor. Everyone will just suffer.
Well, Rhaenys says it too, right? She says there's no war is so hateful than between kin. And then of course we get some nice kinslaying cross reference there. Sort of, if one wants to reach out to the Tolkien side of the pasture, but kinslaying is bad. Civil war is bad. There is nothing more hateful and violent and depraved than family fighting family.
And speaking of, Rhaenys really gives Rhaenyra a new perspective. She gets through to Rhaenyra by Rhaenyra goes, "Oh, well, they had my son killed."
So good.
And she goes, "Just as you had Jaehaerys killed." Like, obviously, people have lost control of the men underneath them, and they're being goaded into wars.
Yeah.
And it's really, and I mean, it's literally the men underneath them with Alicent. And I just can't, I can't believe how good the writing is in this dialogue here, where they, like, she really made me see it differently, right? Yeah. Oh, well, maybe I'm on Team Black because I just agree with Rhaenyra more, and I think she's a better ruler than Aegon is. But that's a good point. That's a good point that Rhaenyra has a blind spot for, and who wouldn't, right? That's her son who was killed.
Yep. Child beheaded. Aemon killed Luke. Luke took Aemon's eye. I mean, how far do you want to go back? You want to go back to, brother kills brother, right? Or something silly. And I love her wisdom too. Rhaenys' wisdom here, like, that she's right about Otto. Like, this wasn't the Otto knows he's chill, right? This is next level stupid kid stuff. And
this has escalated.
Yeah. And it makes me think back to the statement that she made to Corlys when we had that nice scene with them in the last episode, where she says, "We will not let her falter." And here she is, right at her shoulder, providing that wisdom and that counsel to see through the little hurts and slights that are building up here, but see the bigger picture. And that is so important for a ruler, any ruler, right? Anybody in leadership position, is to be able to have wise counsel like that.
What a loss to the realm that Rhaenys was never queen.
Right. Well, I mean, that's an interesting question, because, like, at her nature versus this wisdom that she has now. And it goes back to what we were saying in episode 1, where a lot of this is all about episode 1 and 2, about young and old, about wisdom and countenance. Think of your father and his countenance, versus, like, I want to spill blood, not ink, and the hastiness of youth. But then at the same time, I can dither. I'm an older father. I can dither, and I can think and ponder to the point of inaction. So it's this great, the tension. And so anyway, Rhaenys is, the wisdom that she's displaying now, would she have had that and that forbearance and that countenance back then. I don't know. She would have been fighting
I don't think she could have done worse than Viserys in keeping this house together.
Sure.
I'm willing to give her a shot. That's all I'm saying.
I'm all there. I'm all there right now. So anyway.
I see what you're saying, though, is some of these are learned things. But yeah. I think just she has always been a smarter person than Viserys, and she's always been. It seems like she's always been a results-based person rather than
that's a good point.
Rather than focusing on who's responsible, but instead focusing on how can we fix this now?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's the difference between, I think Rhaenys at her heart is more of a rehabilitator than a retributivist.
Okay.
She's not focused on retribution. She's not focused on enacting a sentence on somebody. She's focused on, okay, we're here now. Here are the realities of our current situation.
Right.
What do we do to make sure that the next thing isn't worse?
Right. And that's so important in any age of, because humans are going to bump into each other. We're gonna get frustrated with each other. We're gonna feel panicked over resources. All kinds of things are going to happen no matter what. And if you don't have that viewpoint somewhere around in your conversational space as a person, I really think you're right that the ability to seek balance in the Force is really important.
Oh, don't bring the Jedi into this. We're not happy with them right now.
You wouldn't, but you're happy with the Acolyte.
The Acolyte. No, yeah, we're happy with the Acolyte. We're not happy with the Jedi in the Acolyte.
That's right.
All right.
Last thing I want to do, just really call out on this scene, Emma Darcy, their face as they're working out the quote unquote math in their head about, you permitted the murder of a little boy. Just the acting on that facial level of just the eyes and the brow furrowing. It was so good. It was just so good.
And Rhaenyra as a character, I think one of the points of, and the reason that I side with Team Black, if there have to be teams, is that Rhaenyra's temperament is already to accept and consider counsel and to try to approach things with a level head. And she just needs a nudge from her advisors, who she listens to do an even better job. Yeah. Whereas you have Aegon just dismissing a lot of his advisors and just really being just an ego trip, right? We need the nominal victory. We just need, good to war. It's just not the same thing. And the Greens are insane. They are absolutely insane putting him on the throne.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move on to a very short scene. Kristen catches the new guys slacking. Aegon has promoted two of his pals to the Kingsguard, and they're already sitting down on the job. Kristen stares them down and goes to his first day as Hand of the King, seems like.
At the beginning of the sequence, I really liked how they gave us the necklace of the Hand of the King. Because, you were like, well, what is he going to wear? How is he going to wear the little thing and stuff? And it's like, oh, great, the necklace. Who wore that? I know we've seen that necklace before, and I'm just trying to remember who wore it. Who wore it better? Anyway, it was very, very cool to see the hand in his armor and his Hand of the King necklace.
He loves it.
If I were one of Aegon's F-boys, there's no way in hell I would want to wear Kingsguard armor. Yeah. I just wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want the look, the constraint, nothing. I would want nothing to do with that. Just let me be loose and free and ramble around and drink and have some fun. Like, I got to stand guard. Like,
it also really makes their syphilis symptoms flare up. So I don't think that they want that.
No, they don't.
So the next one I have is Greens in disarray.
I laughed when I opened up the outline.
The Green Council cannot agree on their next course of action, leading Alicent to order them to behave themselves. Kristen decides to take a small army north to the Riverlands and eventually take Harrenhal. Aegon blesses the plan and insists on joining on Sunfire. Aemond will defend King's Landing on Vhagar. I love this quote from Tom Glencairn as Aegon.
I'm as fearsome as any of them.
His delivery there was really great.
Yes, it was great. And then when he says that line, Jasper Wilde just kind of looks down and reaches out for his wine glass. It was so funny.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh man, that one. Yeah. The humor. There's such good little moments of humor in this. It's really great. Yeah. Tom Carney's just the acting. Yeah. I'm going to gush too much if we focus on that.
Yeah.
I thought Kristen Cole looked really silly in his armor. It almost just like looked, I wonder if they upsized it a little bit to make him look a little bit smaller in it.
Make him look like he's lost control a little bit, right? Like he's filling shoes that are too big for him.
Totally.
And then they give him that little boy haircut too later.
Oh my God.
They give him the bowl cut.
Yeah.
Somebody said everyone's packing to go to war. Kristen puts a bowl on his head and he's like, let me make sure that I'm ready for my haircut.
So bad. He's not wrong in his strategy, though. This whole speeding straight to the Riverlands and pick up support as you go and go without big air cover. It's not wrong. It's actually a sound stratagem.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, can he pull it off? And is he the guy to pull it off? Because you need somebody who can be kind of a charismatic leader in that. You need it's for one thing for Kristen Cole to be the bass player or the drummer or something, right? And keeping the beat and keeping focused on what's going on. But you really need somebody out front and who's talking to these lords and rallying these troops and bringing people to the cause. And Kristen Cole is just not that front guy. You know what I mean? So they roll up on some keep or some, village or, whatever in somebody else's land, some other lord, minor lord. And that person's wavering and you need to bring them over. You really need a charismatic person to be able to do that. You need a bard of some kind in your party.
Yeah. Allison may be sticking out her yacht for Kristen, but he is not the Rizzler, as the kids would say.
It's like, you're speaking English, but
listen, now that I'm on the TikToks, I have to make sure that I'm serving the Gen Z audience that we're pulling in. And Allison is straight up serving face in this scene because look at the way that she stares in the show guide. You can see she stares at Kristen
the photo that you grabbed
disgust.
For this. It's
absolute disgust.
Totally in shock. She's just like, oh my God. Yeah, really good. I did think that Aemon was looking a little like licking his chops ever so slightly at the thought of his brother flying out. He's like, no, brother, we cannot lose you. Like, yeah, he would love to be able to become king, I think.
Yeah, he's so ready to become king.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's on the council now, right? He's not coming late. He's showing up on time.
Yeah.
He's bringing an apple for the teacher because he's like, I want to stay in the good graces. I don't want to be disinherited.
So
in favor of Kristen Cole.
Exactly. They name dropped two names, Tully and Darren. I think so. Was it Darren? I can't remember, but Tully was name dropped twice, once in Harrenhal and once here.
Yeah. So Tully is the Lord of the Riverlands.
Right. Is that the two towers? The bridges, or is that the bridges? The twins?
No, that's the twins. Now. Yeah. That's twins are Walder Frey. That is in the Riverlands, but that is not.
That's the north end of the Riverlands.
Right. That's what you have to cross to get from
to the
north into the south. Yeah. That was that whole thing with the War of the Five Kings. We don't need to relitigate it.
We don't need to, but I'm just trying to remember.
Yeah. So the Tullys, remember, that's Catelyn Stark's family.
Right.
And they rule the Riverlands. They
are the liege lords
of the Riverlands. Darren is Alicent's youngest son.
Okay.
And he has been living in Old Town. And I think that the showrunners were possibly not going to put him in the show. And then they decided this season, he's in the show.
But doesn't Alicent, or so Rhaenyra's, wait, I'm confused now. Who has brothers in Old Town? Both of them or just one of them?
Rhaenyra does not have, she has a half brother in Old Town, which is Darren, because Alicent's kids are Rhaenyra's half brothers.
Right. Okay. So that's how it works. But he's got a dragon.
He does have a dragon because he's a Targaryen.
Right. So they're both targeting him. Oh, I get it now. They're both.
Well, I don't think Rhaenyra is going for Darren.
Didn't they say? I thought he was name dropped last episode. Like
he was name dropped last episode because Otto said, I'm going to go to Old Town. You have a son there.
Oh, he was talking to Allison. Okay, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I was just getting all the names and places mixed up.
That's all right. That's all right. So Darren is firmly Team Green. His mom his mom is a high tower. His grandpa's a high tower. He's living in Old Town. Firmly Team Green.
Got it. Don't at me.
We have not seen him in the show. So if you look in the show guide, he is still a fan art.
Right. Cool. Okay. So that seems like some shapes of some things that they're, because if they're both reaching for Tully, that feels like something.
Yeah, but they also mentioned that the current head of the Tullys, I forgot the name that they said it was, but the current head of the Tullys has a lot of trouble controlling the River Lords. Like he doesn't really have, and we get a sense that that's a common thing in the Riverlands. You have Harrenhal, which is also in the Riverlands, by the way.
Yep.
Where the Strong Lord, what's his name? Simon Strong. He basically says, yeah, nobody's listening to anybody. Yep. Yeah, he's Castellan.
Yeah.
But Damon's like, no, people should obey their liege lord. And this is
we're going to get to it. We'll get to it.
So anyway, my point is, this is a common thing, right? Is that people aren't actually following chain of command here.
Right. And it makes for gettable allies.
Right.
If you can woo them enough. The one thing I really liked in this scene too, lastly, at least for me, is Aegon playing with the cat's paw and having no idea what that thing is. And he's just like, oh, look, I'm the guy from Aliens doing the stabby finger thing, It's just, it's really funny to see him. And then, of course, we get later the eggs, where we get these really, really important things, and people are just kind of like, ho-hum, I got this cool dagger that, I got from my dad.
The egg thing is a controversy that we have to get to.
Yeah, we'll get there.
People are not. Some people are not happy about it. Some people are thrilled about it. All right. Let's go to Massaria joining the fight. I like to think that these Team Green, Team Black things are like a classic Mortal Kombat game where you have like a new fighter unlocked and they're coming in. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know what you're saying.
All right. You were in the arcade generation.
I was. I did a lot of Street Fighter. Chun-Li was my character. But I always got beat because the Ken and the Ryu guys were just like invincible.
I was a Mortal Kombat guy, but my top arcade game was the X-Men arcade game of the 90s.
Oh, I didn't play that one. Yeah. Anyway.
Massaria joins the fight. Massaria claims her reward for saving Rhaenyra, which is a place in her court. She states her reason is that she was surprised by Rhaenyra's mercy in contrast to Aegon. She also wants revenge, of course, on the High Towers.
Yeah, there you go. Revenge. And small folk, right? So really great. The whole small folk thing in the camera angles, the people, remember when princes fight, it's the small folk who die. We got that at the end in episode 10 or was it 9 or 10 it was 10. When Rhaenys came out of the dragon.
No, it's 9 because that happened in King's Landing.
Okay, that's right. So just really great. Always bringing that theme back into the conversation. And I love Miss Saria. She's such a great character, great negotiator. Really understands the value of information and how that's more important than gold and as important as gold. So fills that very Varys-like niche of you really need somebody who is thinking through these things.
Sorry, I saw a TikTok the other day of somebody pretending to be Varys and just having the sleeves the hands like over each other and going, "The realm is important for everything." Right. Anyway, but seriously on Massaria, I think what I was most impressed with in the scene was her flexibility. Right? I was going to leave, but you did something interesting, and I want to know how this plays out.
That is such a cool character moment. She's like, I'm not often surprised. I've seen a lot. Right. I've seen a range of human experience in my line of work, and you surprised me. And that is something. Yeah, I totally agree.
Right. Next scene, Rhaena is sent to ... war? Rhaenyra asks Rhaena to bring Joffrey to ward with Lady Jane Arryn of the Vale, and then to take Aegon and Viserys, her sons, different Aegon, remember, to Pentos, to be under the protection of Regio Haratis. She asks Rhaena to be as a mother to her young children. Rhaena expresses her displeasure at being sent away.
This really had that sort of Battle of Britain vibes for me, sending the kids away, Lion, the Witch in the Wardrobe, all that kind of stuff. But then this scene really hit home for me later when another scene triggered or sort of unlocked something, which is when Rhaenys and Corlys are talking and he refuses to name a successor. And of course we had earlier with Aegon losing his son, and he's, screaming mad that, that his son is his line of succession. That's his legacy. This whole thing is about legacy. The whole war, Dance of the Dragon stuff is all because of a question of legacy. And it just really puts together the point that without a clear line of succession, then power becomes unstable, and people, don't know how to fit themselves into position, or other people are going to use that and take advantage of it.
Well, the other thing here is that the way that Corlys reacts to the suggestion of Rhaena being named his heir.
Yes, that too.
is icky and really, honestly, shows how Corlys's acceptance of women as rulers is very much tied to his wife and his proximity to power. He doesn't want to give any of his power to a woman. He just wants to ride on the coattails of women who already have power.
This is an interesting insight. Okay. Yeah.
It is interesting. I have a whole podcast on
this. Keep going. I'm listening.
Oh, that's all I have for this scene, really. Right. I mean, we have Reggio. He's going to come back. He's in the show guide from last season. And I thought he was going to be a one-off. I was like, oh, wait, do we even need to put him in? He's not coming back. And I'm glad I put him in because he's mentioned. So let me just break down here. Let me emphasize. It sounds like, this is my understanding of the scene, they are going north to the Vale. And
right, yeah, because just context, because there were people who were confused about all of this movements and wrote in, and on the Discord people were trying to unwind it, but carry on.
Right.
Yeah.
So they are going to the Vale. They are going to remind Lady Arryn of her pledge and give them a dragon, which is not even a fighting dragon, but they're going to leave Joffrey and his dragon there.
Right.
Then they're going to take a boat over to Pentos and live there for the duration of the war.
Right. Out of reach of direct harm's way, other than assassins.
Right. And does it sound to you like they're bringing a dragon keeper, like a dragon master?
Yeah, they're going to tend these eggs, right? That's what I was picking up from all of this.
Right. And there's 4 eggs there.
Yep.
Let's talk about the eggs later, actually.
We've got to see. Yeah. I got some questions there about
all right.
that.
So let's go over to Daemon. He takes a willing Harrenhal. He arrives at Harrenhal to find it
whole sequence
nearly unguarded. He finds a chamber in which the Castellan of Harrenhal, Sir Simon Strong, waits to immediately pledge fealty to Rhaenyra. When Daemon is suspicious, Simon insinuates that he knows Lara Strong had Lionel Strong and Harwin Strong killed. He has no loyalty to his lord.
No, his lord is in fact a scourge on the family. He has no love for that young man. I thought this whole thing was hilarious. It was great. I loved Daemon skulking around, and then when he finally finds one guard, he just punches the crap out of it.
He just wanted some fight, you know?
Exactly.
I feel like that guard wasn't even going to attack him. I feel like that guard's instructions were, whoever gets here first, we are pledging to them.
Yeah. So funny. And yeah, just Simon and his love of dinner, the venison, black cabbage, peas. Sorry about the red currant. It was so lovely. I really like this guy. I hope we get to more of him.
Yeah, and I do love his logic too, right? He's smart too. He understands the calculations. He immediately pledges loyalty to Daemon, knowing he'll just be immediately killed if he doesn't. He then, says, I know you think that you're being poisoned, but you know what? I have no reason to. Here's why. He explains that you can't light a fire there if you tried.
Yeah, it's so great.
It's the first, I love the way he says it. It's the first fire since your ancestor burned it with a dragon.
It was so good. Yeah, this the perilousness of assumptions, and the whole it's hard when you're talking to a very thin-skinned royal, right? One little slight could get your head, and then like I guess it's his children, the three boys the three young men that are sitting there, they all like are when he says, when he accidentally says "my prince" instead of my your grace, and they're like, ooh.
Your Grace. He comes back from it.
So good. I love this whole thing. This line that he has too, sin begets sin, right? Doesn't that just plays perfectly into the whole theme of this episode with the burning mill, right? That it's one slight after another, and before you know it, we've
tomorrow and
lost the plot. And then here again, they talk about Grover Tully, right? So his description is of him not being able to seal his bowels.
Oh, man.
So good.
Oh, man. They are not. The River Lords really just are mean girls, aren't they? They have a burn book. They have a burn book that you can't light on fire in Harrenhal.
Harrenhal's looking pretty spooky in this whole scene with the bats and everything, and the weird sounds and the weird camera angles. They really used some horror, camera techniques to give us these up from down kind of looks and weird long perspectives.
Harrenhal has always been known as being cursed.
Right.
Because, right as it was finished being built, the legend is, I'm sure it's not actually this, but the legend is that Harren the Black, puts the final brick into Harrenhal the day that Aegon the Conqueror lands in King's Landing. Aegon comes and goes, "Do you want to surrender?" And he's like, "I have this big, strong castle." Aegon goes with his dragon machine gun and just guns down that entire castle. Harren the Black dies. They're embarrassed and everything. And yeah, it's not great. It's not great for them. And so nobody's really been able to successfully hold Harrenhal very well. We do see Harrenhal quite a bit in the books of Game of Thrones, because in contrast to the show, you have, in the show, you have Arya serving Tywin.
Yep.
In the books, they have her serving Roose Bolton in Harrenhal.
Oh, that's right.
It's a big change. Right. Big change. I think the show does it better, actually. That's one of the few changes that I think were better in the show.
Okay. Well, and it took somebody like Tywin to be able to hold it. So that says something. I think that says something interesting about Tywin's character as well.
Yeah, yeah. And this place is just absolutely decrepit. And not Harwin. Simon asks a good question, like, why do you want this? Because it's a really decrepit castle. It's like, well, it's central, it's big, it's what Daemon is, right? He doesn't care about anything except image. I have the biggest castle in the Riverlands. Not I have the most allies, but I have the biggest castle.
Strategically, everybody, I think, is very clear, too, on its strategic importance. And that's the thing is, at that time, you needed to be able to garrison your troops behind walls so that they could rest. And, wearing armor and just doing that kind of combat.
Okay, but what troops?
Well, any troop. That's for Daemon. Yeah, no troops.
Literally no troops. Right? He's just going on a camping trip over in Harrenhal. Look, he's literally having a big castle contest with Aemon over there, and it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Well, this goes back to something else that we have some notes on later with Rhaenyra's council. Is this whole idea just start using your dragons? And so Daemon's out there with his dragon saying, hey, I'll just, mutually, well, it's not even mutually destruction. It's just like, I will nuke you from the face of the earth unless you bend the knee. And okay, they can bend the knee in that moment, but the moment you fly away, right, you can't, a dragon alone is not going to secure. It may get you part of the way, but you need to do a lot more to keep people in line and the system secure and working. A dragon alone isn't sufficient. Is it necessary? Not sufficient? I don't know. Anyway, I'm.
Who knows?
You can't. It's like a tank. you have a tank, you can take it into battle, but it can be taken down by a whole bunch of guys. And so you need an integrated thing. And so the dragon is just one puzzle piece of having a strategy for ruling the kingdoms. So.
Right. And thankfully, Rhaenyra does have another big advantage of her side, which is the only navy, it seems like.
Yes, that's true.
She has the whole navy. And that's a point pointed out to Viserys in season 1. Like, if you lose the loyalty of the Valyrians, you are so screwed.
Yeah, right. Especially if you have superior air power over the water, you really are screwed.
All right. Well, let's move on to Bowl-Cut Kristen rides for war. I should change it. I'm going to change it right now in the show guide. Bowl-Cut Kristen. Bowl-Cut. All right. Sir Kristen Cole prepares to ride out to battle with a fresh haircut. Alicent arrives to introduce her brother Gwaine and add him to Kristen's forces, much to his dismay. Before he departs, Kristen requests and receives Alicent's boob favor.
Did you say boob favor?
I did. Can I just say, like, does everyone just have sweaty boob favors before a battle? Do they just carry them? Like, what?
I guess.
What is there like a compartment in your bra to hold the favor? I don't know. I feel like these aren't moisture wicking favors.
Things that in bygone eras. I did love the whole, just them sitting next to each other in the small council and her looking at him and their tension. And then in this scene, and he's doing it very publicly, like, oh, for the favor of the queen so that I can carry it next to my heart. And I'm like, what is going on here? This is just some weird, gross stuff going on between these two people. King or queen, Kingsguard, hand of the king, lovers. It's just so messy. It's great.
Look, he's going to be sniffing that while he's using his hand of the king. That's all I'm going to tell you.
You could not make that joke.
Have I gone too far?
No, but you could not make that joke, right? It was there. It was just there.
It's right there. It's anyway. Right there.
Gwaine, did Gwaine suss it out? Does he suspect his sister and Bowl-Cut Crispy?
I think he's too far into his own hair gel to understand what's going on in front of him. I mean, the guy is clearly so into his ego, right? He comes in, he doesn't try to bond with Kristen right away. He's like, "Oh, no, well, you classist. a lowly Dornishman is going,
yeah." Serious classism, and he even says like, "Oh," and says for such a, what did he say, like mundane birth or something to that effect.
Yeah. Look, how dare he make me root for Kristen in one interaction? How dare he?
I thought he was going to be a bit tougher, and even though he could be a pompous ass and society muckety muck kind of thing, he just rode a long way and he's been out, and I just figured, oh well, maybe he's not only got the attitude and the arrogance, but he actually can back it up. And I think he's a little bit more of a dandy than I was thinking at first, because later on with the whole, flight into the forest, he seems a little bit shook by that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's totally scared. There was, that meme that's like, oh my God, I almost died. And they're holding him.
I don't know.
I made a TikTok meme of that.
Okay.
With Gwaine in the background.
Okay.
Because he was
freaked out.
Yeah, he was so freaked out. He could not handle that situation. But we're not there yet. We're here stuck on the boob favors and the interactions leaving.
Did you like the jaunty music that followed the host as it left the keep? It had a little bit more of a boopity boopity boop sort of tune to it.
I didn't notice. Was this in universe music?
Uh-huh. No. It was not diegetic.
Oh, okay.
It was background music. And
I didn't notice.
It was very different from what I'm used to. There's two pieces of music that caught my attention in this episode. That one, and then one at the end where there's actually like a vocalization happening. But this was very sort of fife and drum kind of upbeat. And I thought maybe you might catch that, given you have a musical ear.
I did not catch it. I was too focused on the beautiful scenery. All right. Quite honestly. You poisoned me.
Or a raven eating some cheese. Delicious
eating some
cheese, aged cheese.
Yeah.
There are some people in the live chat that were not happy about that scene.
My son recently learned a word. He's 1.5. He recently learned the word icky.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have him on the pod to just go icky at that. Yeah.
100%.
All right. Rhaenyra's council grows anxious. Rhaenyra's council suggests that they run the war while she's kept safely hidden away. Lord Alfred Broom spearheads this effort. Rhaenyra tells them that would be treason, so good thing they didn't take it any further, and leaves the meeting. Rhaenys essentially tears them a new one and compares her to Jaehaerys the Jaehaerys the Conciliator. That's a big compliment from Rhaenys.
Yeah, I was really struck by that. I mean, I don't know that much about Jaehaerys the Conciliator, but she took these boys out to the woodshed and gave them a spanking.
Jaehaerys came to power after the realm was traumatized by Maegor's cruelty.
Okay.
And he repaired the broken bridges of the kingdom after a lot of skirmishes, after a lot of pain and bloodshed. And he ruled, like she said, longer than any other Targaryen ruler. He was named the Old King in the end, the Conciliator, but also the Old King. Largely because he was so good at diplomacy and didn't fight wars. He solved problems before they arose to wars.
Unlike Viserys.
The only big mistake he made was naming Viserys his heir. And in that case, wasn't really him. He said, let's call a vote.
Right.
Let's have somebody decide.
Oh, it was that dude.
Yeah. That's the dude. We've seen him on screen. That's why you can click on him in the show guide. You can see his old face.
Yeah. Click. Just a little light bulb moment there. Totally.
Yep.
I love it when that happens. Okay. Very cool. I like that. And I love Rhaenys just being so cold. She was just like, y'all, you don't know. You're going to get into some serious trouble here if you don't button it down.
Oh, yeah. She was pissed at them. She was really like, y'all got to behave.
Yeah.
And she can say, y'all got to behave, and they actually shut up and listen. Mm-hmm. Whereas Alicent can say, y'all got to behave, and they all just continue.
Right. They kind of like, they keep whispering behind her back.
Right.
I mean, Broom is a tosser, but he's not wrong also. But he's
a power grabber.
Yeah, like I said, he's an absolute tosser, but he, isn't. Some of his advice is on point in terms of, but it matched to what goal? She's trying to avert war, and he's saying commit to war. And if you're going to commit to war, this is when you do it and how you do it.
He's not serving her; he's seeing her as an obstacle, and that's the problem.
Perfect way to explain it. Absolutely, that's I think dead on.
Well, Rhaenys isn't done. She and Corlys rendezvous and discuss the dangers of their situation. Rhaenys urges Corlys to name Rhaena his heir instead of leaving Driftmark to 6-year-old Joffrey. What'd you think of this?
I love these scenes between Rhaenys and Corlys. I love the whole coupledom thing. I'm not saying old in a pejorative way, just a couple that's been married a long time, an old couple, and you have these very husband and wife moments, and I just really find them. And when he pulls away and she's like left sort of grasping his hand, it really. I don't know. It was just full of a lot of complex emotions, and her. She's like, dude, we are at war. Stuff happens. Unpredictable things happen.
Not get this.
Yeah, you're being stubborn, and I'm trying to make you see reason here. And I don't care who you name. Just name somebody so that it won't turn into a shit show when something weird happens and you don't come home.
Don't you think it's interesting that she has dropped the bastard thing?
Yeah.
She completely dropped it. Hasn't mentioned it. She doesn't say, don't leave it to Joffrey because he's a bastard, just because he's not part of our line. Don't leave it to him because he's 6.
Yeah.
That's a good argument. That's a good argument, aside from any, problematic conceptions of lineage.
Yeah. It's there. Well, I pointed this out. I think it was at episode 2 was where she says, we will not let our queen falter. Right. So they are firmly in. And they have gotten over their hurts over their daughter and their son, and they do not want to see Alicent and Aegon in position. So yeah, they're able to bracket, box it up, put it aside, and focus on what needs to be focused on. And which is, you made that point earlier, that she's outcome focused, right?
Right. She's like, hey, Reyna is at least competent enough to not completely botch the operation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, David, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we will talk about dragon eggs. We'll be right back with more House of the Dragon. We're back with more House of the Dragon. All right, so let's get to the dragon eggs of it all.
People are upset?
Okay, let me read the scene and then we'll talk about why they're upset.
All right.
Reyna complains to Bela about her being sent away, but Bela assures her that her path will be easier. Rhaenyra shows the party 4 dragon eggs that will be sent with the group to Pentos. She tells Reyna to remind Lady Arryn of her pledge. She also sends Stormcloud and Tyraxes, which are... So Stormcloud, by the way, I had to look this up because I couldn't remember whose was whose, but Stormcloud belongs to Joffrey. Sorry, I got that opposite already. Stormcloud belongs to Aegon.
I'm looking in the guide right now. It's right here. We don't have a picture of Stormcloud, unfortunately.
Well, because they haven't been in the show.
Yeah, hasn't been shown.
And Joffrey rides Tyraxes, or will ride Tyraxes when Tyraxes is big enough. So those are the 2 dragons. They're not big enough to fight yet, but they are at least existing.
Yeah.
So these eggs, they look an awfully lot about a trio of eggs that we see at the beginning of Game of Thrones, don't they?
And I believe I saw some social media somewhere. I don't know if it was on the Discord or on one of those sites that was formerly called something else or something, that it's confirmed. The director, the showrunner actually said,
I don't know who exactly confirmed it, but it sounds like the production is going all in on these are Daenerys' eggs.
Yeah.
3 of them are, but there's a 4th egg that we don't. There's like a bluish one.
Yeah.
That we don't know what happened to that. So maybe that becomes Rhaenyra's dragon. I don't even remember. So I'll have to reread that passage. But yeah, so here's why it's controversial. Is that one, I know Cyrus was big in our Discord saying like, Syrax looks absolutely nothing like Dany's dragons. So if these are supposed to be just Syrax's eggs, then it's a little sloppy on the visual design.
Okay.
The other thing is that there are multiple explanations of how the eggs got to Essos in Fire and Blood and other writings. This is one possibility suggested, not necessarily one. So this sounds like they're just making a big stance here. They're making a big affirmative decision that in the visual show universe, this is what happened. That's how I'm viewing it, is that this is what happened in the show universe. It does not affect what happens in the books, whatever you want. That's how I've trained myself to think about things since Rings of Power put Mithril in a mountain. Anyway.
Got it. Yeah. And we talk about that with the Shippy test, right? Inspiration, or, what do you have to change to still hit the right notes from the original intention?
Look, let's just be honest. These are straight up member berries, right? Like these are
totally.
These are just, hey, you show watcher who didn't watch anything, who didn't read anything, didn't do any Game of Thrones since Game of Thrones ended. Remember these? Remember these eggs? Remember that? Remember the good times with Daenerys? Remember when you liked her?
These are for people like me, right? The casual fan who's like, hey, cool, that's awesome, like nice little thing. And they don't make a big deal of it. And it's just there and it's good. I'm fine with it. I thought it was, I had the same thought too. I was like, oh, I wonder if those are the ones that ended up over there. Naturally, like, okay, cool. I
don't think we're going to think about these eggs again for a while.
I think you're right. I think
this is just, hey, look, these look awfully similar to those eggs, a little less dusty. Let's move on.
Would you ever buy like one of these egg replicas for,
No.
your office or your desk or anything like that? They're kind of cool. I don't know.
They are. They're just not that interesting to me though. For me, like if I was going to get replicas of stuff, I'd probably go with Star Wars stuff. I think that stuff's so much cooler.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Like a lightsaber or something in your thing.
Oh yeah. I would love a lightsaber hilt. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I guess there's some companies that make some really cool lightsaber things too as well.
Oh yeah.
So you could spend lots of money.
You sure can, and I'm not going to do it. So anyway, I also, here's another question I have to raise to those who are doubtful. Did they ever say that these were all Syrax's eggs? Did Rhaenyra say that? I can't recall.
Nope,
I don't think so. Yeah.
It didn't. I don't know that I would have picked up on that detail necessarily, but it doesn't seem like they're just like, here's some eggs, go.
Right. Like I see a lot of people saying these are all Cyrax's eggs, but couldn't they just be multiple dragons? Like they are on Dragonstone. There is a cave of dragons.
Yes,
there's
right.
a mountain filled with dragons.
Daemon crawled in there and was like digging around in there. So,
there's a mountain of gender non-conforming dragons that could possibly all lay eggs. Right.
I do like that there's that you can be any gender to be a dragon master, because we've got a woman dragon master in the picture here.
Well, the dragons themselves could seemingly be any gender.
I love it.
So the point is, I do think it's very possible that each egg belongs to a different dragon, or two belong to one belongs to another.
We just don't know.
I'm not sold on these all being Cyrax's eggs at this point. If someone else heard differently, write in. We've learned that when we get stuff wrong, people actually write in.
Enragement equals engagement.
Speaking of Missaria, somebody wrote in. I got to credit them. I'll credit them in the feedback episode.
Right.
But somebody wrote in, Missaria, I keep saying that she's not a book character, and she absolutely is. And as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, yeah, that absolutely is a book character. Why am I saying it's not a book character?
So you were pretty emphatic that it was not a book character.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the scene at hand. The sister drama was really interesting. And I love this because we're getting this a lot in the Acolyte as well, where you have two people from the same family. They are just different people, and they're bound together. And these two sisters are like, there's a little tension there. You get to stay and have war, and I got to go off and be a mommy to these little, kids and do this kind of stuff. And you know what? It's probably one of the most important jobs in the war. And I get it when you're that
keeping the heir safe. Well, it's not the heir right now, but if anything happens to Jace and Joffrey, those are the remaining heirs.
You need,
and frankly, those are the only trueborn heirs, right?
Exactly. So, yeah, it's tough. I get it, right? You're young, you want to be out flying, doing stuff. She doesn't have a dragon though, right?
She does not have a dragon. That's the whole reason she's being sent instead of Bela.
Right. Oh, yeah, and she says that actually in the conversation.
Earlier, and you remember she had that tender. I believe it was her who had that tender conversation. Right in, if it was Bela, I think it was her though. Had that tender conversation with Lena, saying, "I wish I had a dragon." And then she wanted Vhagar.
Yes. Oh, right. Yeah. And then that's when Aemon
was like,
nope,
finders keepers.
I don't know if I'd want Vhagar. This is so huge. Like Moondancer's pretty cool. I'd want a fast cruise around dragon, not like a big tank dragon. So,
well, that's something emphasized in the book is that Vhagar is strong, but Vhagar's not very fast.
Right. Yeah. Speed versus size.
Right.
And power. So.
Right. All right. Alicent gets absolution, something that she craved last episode.
Point. Yeah, that's true.
Alicent visits Helena, who says she is sad about Jaehaerys, but knows logically she shouldn't be. Weird. Alicent describes pain as a necessary part of motherhood, and Helena forgives Alicent for what happened.
Abby brought this up. Maester Abby. I'm calling Abby a maester now because she
promoted.
Yes.
Now, which chain on the link
for house
authorizes her to? No, I'm saying I'm making fun of that scene earlier where Tyland is like, council. Remind me, which chain has battle tactics?
That's right.
He has his pinky up in the air. He's snooty. His nose is to the sky.
So good. I really like, I like these characters. I had posted something in the Discord. I had a question because there was a banner in Harrenhal that I didn't recognize. And Abby was just like, boom, right there. It's the strong sigil, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, Maester Abby on the spot with her knowledge. So
very nice. Very nice.
Yes. She said that is Helena forgiving her for the past. I'm paraphrasing. I'm summarizing what she said. Giving her absolution for something in the past or something in the future that hasn't happened yet. And I was like,
that's good.
Oh, that's real good. Really good. Because we don't know where Helena lives, right? She's this quantum dot that is, neither here nor there. She's in the future and in the past all at the same time. And I think that was a really great comment.
That is a great comment, and I love the idea that she's forgiving Allison for something in the future, but Allison reads it as something in the past.
Totally,
in the past,
right?
because
So
that's
good.
exactly what she wanted, right?
Yeah,
Allison,
totally.
as we've learned, is great at hearing what she wants to hear.
Ooh,
Really good.
That's
at
also
it.
a really good point. That's true.
Context clues are not her strongest point.
She's up in her head. She's really, lost in her head. Sadness is a condition of motherhood.
It was sadness. Oh, I have to rewrite that in there. I couldn't remember at the point. And I meant to correct it later when I was rewatching. Sadness is a condition of motherhood. That's a good line.
It really is. And this whole question, and we've talked about this before in other shows and in other contexts, about who has a right to their feelings. Oh, my pain is greater than your pain, and therefore I have some other greater dispensation or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I really love Helena's like, well, yeah, they probably lose more babies than a highborn lady does.
Right.
So should I feel bad for? I mean, you should still feel your pain, but it's also great to have empathy for other people who may have a more predilection because they don't have health care, they don't have the support that they need to make
right. But it's also
choices
not the pain Olympics, right? It's not the pain Olympics.
Exactly.
It's okay to grieve your own experiences while also showing kindness to others.
And having
your
empathy.
Pain can inform your empathy towards others rather than compete with it. God,
exactly.
I'm fucking wise. I should be a maester.
You are, Maester John.
I'm not a maester. I barely made. I could be a pengalode, which is a master of lore in Elvish, of Tolkien stuff. I could be a pengalode. I don't think I qualify as a maester. I'm a low level lore person in the House of the Dragon stuff. People like Cyrus, people like Abby, really, and Maester Anthony, of course,
obviously
blow me out of the water with this lore stuff, and that's great because I can go call them and be like, "Hey, what does this mean?"
Well, we are lucky to have such a lovely community of people who are willing to share their knowledge.
Exactly. So let's move on. Larys convinces Aegon to remain in King's Landing. Why don't we just have a reprise of this lovely clip?
I'm as fearsome as any of them.
So good. The humor, and he just looks so ill in that armor, and it just felt heavy on him and weird looking. Yeah, it was a great discomforting scene.
It's not a good look to like be looking up to the clubfoot.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like the fact that Larys has always been, depicted as this weak person who's always like hunched over. And yet when he talks to Aegon, he's always talking to him framed as being above him.
He's so good though at coming in smooth like that and just saying, "Oh, well, before you fly off, might I have a quick word with you?" He's just, he does the really big platitudes like, "Oh, you reminded me of your father." And so other people can hear it, that he's being obsequious and, deferential and all that. And then the real flattery comes in and he doesn't assume, he doesn't try to dissuade him. He doesn't challenge him head on. He just says, people are saying, this is what I'm hearing. I'm just doing I'm just trying to be your ally here. And he's so good. He's so good at what he does.
He sure is. And I do love the ill-fitting Aegon the Conqueror armor though.
Yeah, it's great.
Great visual metaphor. Anyway, go on.
Oh no, I was just going to, is this official? He's now the Master of Whispers, like official for the king, right?
He was made Lord Confessor last season.
No, Lord Confessor, but now he's the Master of Whispers.
Oh, that's a good point.
I think he got a promotion.
Is that a promotion? Like, does that come with a pay raise? That's the question. Or is this a promotion in title only?
And job responsibility, right? Certainly, he's like, I'm in need of your whisper. I need a spy master.
Oh, he was already doing that,
but in a different. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think he's doing anything extra. I think he's just recognized more. Okay. And this is a long-term plot here, right? This is like a 10-year plot to become more powerful in this kingdom.
So I was wondering in the live chat during the episode, what is his game? And I think we've asked that question before. Is it just to be powerful in the shadows, like he is right now?
I don't know.
Because we don't know what his
so that no
motivations.
one can deprive him of his feet. right? He walks into a brothel and says, "All of you, take off your socks." And they listen. And they listen.
And they do. And I would love to see him take Larys's or Aegon's new Kingsguard down to the basement for a little bit of foot tickling, because he would take these boys apart. They would fold faster than blood folded. These guys, it would be hilarious. I would love to see that.
Yeah, and he's just really having a great time here. I didn't even read the whole thing here. Larys manipulates Aegon into remaining in King's Landing by suggesting he's being baited into battle by a power-hungry Alicent and Aemon. Aegon's newly white-cloaked friends invite him to bring a squire to get it wet. Aegon reminds them of their oaths of chastity, which they laugh off until he stares them down. The reason I said, quote, "get it wet" was because that was the line that Aemon said that Aegon said to him last season when he took him to lose his virginity at that brothel.
Yep.
And it's pretty funny to me that like they all have the same brothel. Like there's not enough brothels in King's Landing to host all of the royal family. Aegon's like, "I know a place. This is where I take everybody."
Yeah. I think Larys got a haircut too. And it looks pretty good, actually. His haircut looks pretty good.
Oh, they redid all the hair with this whole season, right? Like Aegon has longer hair now. Most people got a hair growth. The Targaryen hair growth genes are really out of control because in like a week, Aegon got much bigger hair. So did Jace.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right. In this, I'm looking at one of the pictures in the episode breakdown, and Aegon is looking up at Larys, like for real. A good half a face height. He's got to look up to him.
Yeah, yeah.
Good call.
I don't know if this is a perspective shot or if the actor for Larys is actually taller than Tom Glencarney. But I don't know.
But still, the power relationship is clear. It's good visual storytelling.
Yep. And I also love when he goes, "Well, you two swore oaths of chastity," and then they burst out into laughter. But he just glares at them, right? He just glares at them, and they oh no, he's our boss now. Never work with your friends, right?
No, yeah.
never work with your friends in like
having an entourage would be weird because you're paying them to laugh at your jokes. Yeah,
right. So the next scene, the Dragon Seed regales a man named Ulf. By the way, he was named in the show. We missed it when we did our hot take.
Okay.
A man named Ulf regales a table with his story in exchange for free drinks. By the way, very slick the way that he got that free drink, right? Oh, I might. Oh, yeah. I've had a long day, but I might be willing to talk with some ale.
Loosen my tongue. Yes.
Yeah. He claims to be the son of Balon Targaryen and the grandson of Jaehaerys Targaryen. Ulf calls himself a dragon seed when he loudly calls Jaehaerys, as he says, the true heir to the Iron Throne. Aegon that walks in, seemingly not having heard. I love that guy. Looked like he shit his pants. Absolutely, looked like he pooped his pants. Well, yeah, absolutely.
He's talking treason, and whoops, the king walks in.
He's like, "Jaehaerys, woo!" And then Aegon shows up. Didn't even notice.
And he's the first one to call out, "Hail to the king!"
Right.
So to try to make sure.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for him.
So Ulf is the guy from episode 2 who was our
people
POV.
Figured that out.
Yeah, I went and double checked for myself as well. So what is up with this whole scene? There's some weird, like, what's his name? Hugh with the beautiful beard, and this guy, and there's some bit pieces. Alan. There's just some pieces, or Adam, I'm sorry, not Alan, Adam, where what is going, like, there's no other connective tissue that I can see that's going to make something happen with these characters, but obviously something's going to happen because we're spending significant time with them. So I'm baffled at what we're going to get out of this.
Bursting out the seams, isn't it?
Are you? I think I like the wheel weaves as our can't say anything sort of expression for spoiler stuff.
Someone actually suggested another one, which was what Robert Jordan, author of The Wheel of Time, used to say to people. I have to find who actually suggested it to me so I can give them credit. But basically, Robert Jordan used to say, read and find out, or WAFO. And
Okay, WAFO.
I'm suggesting WAFO.
WAFO.
Watch and find out.
All right.
WAFO.
All right. WAFO. That's
where I'm at.
It rolls off.
Okay, Fred on the Discord, who is a lore master, actually.
Hey.
All right, so WAFO on those
Fred.
lines.
If it sticks, you get
Put
credit.
a pin in it. All right.
Is Ulf WAFO?
Absolutely, Ulf is WAFO. All of those things you mentioned are WAFO.
Okay, good. Because obviously it has to be. We're spending all this time with them. So.
Right.
And I couldn't tell, in the scheme of things, when you're trying to take down a foreign power, fake news is often a very functional and effective way to destabilize things. And I couldn't tell if Ulf was trying to stir sentiment or smoke out traitors or just get a free drink, because it just seemed very weird.
Or does he believe that he is a dragon seed?
Good point.
He is the bastard of one of the Targaryens.
Yeah, I have no idea. Oh, and by the way, where are the real guards for Aegon?
He doesn't have them. He doesn't. Look, the Kingsguard are supposed to be the most elite warriors, right? And there's two of them there. So theoretically,
three of them.
That should be plenty.
Yeah, no, three or four of them.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the three of them plus the squire. Look, Eric and Eric were pledged at 9 and 10. These guys, I'm sorry, this is just bad news. I mean, if you want to send an assassin, now is a great time to send an assassin.
I know. He really has absolutely no protections. If Myssaria's friends wanted him dead, it would be done immediately.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
I thought it was interesting that this is the second time that Dornishmen were mentioned in this episode. So that was interesting.
Yeah, they're mentioned in Dorne a bit. We don't know what's going on down there right now.
No.
We'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
WAFO. Aegon then discovers Aemon's private doings. Aegon and his friends bring their young initiate to Aegon's favorite house of pleasures. I'm not sure what notion's going to flag as inappropriate, so I was like, can I write brothel in this?
Yeah, that's a dictionary word, right?
Okay,
that's
all right.
That's fair.
They discover Aemond being cradled by his matron and try to embarrass him, but Aemond offers her to the initiate.
Such an embarrassing scene. And Aemond is just trying to. I'm sorry. What's his brother's name? Come on, brain work. Yeah, it was Aemond. I was right. Aemond is just trying to maintain his dignity as he walks out. And it's just it was wild. That was just a wild scene.
You get the sense that he's still the boy who was shown the pig.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right? He's still that kid. He's just put on this tough front to try to run away from it.
And he's got a badass scar and a badass fake eyeball.
Mm-hmm. But he runs back to mommy at night.
Yeah.
His fake mommy.
And Aegon is just so cool in that way of being a jocular, young sort of jocular boy.
Yeah. I mean, did you see the photo I got of him with his tongue sticking out?
Yeah. Exactly.
You could hear him going, "What's up?" This was the early 2000s.
I love that.
My son has started going high five for high five, and I'm trying to get him to say "What's up" because I think it would be really funny.
I love that.
We'll see. I'll report back.
That is the same madam from season 1, episode 9, when Crispy Cole and Aemond were out on the search.
Okay.
So I went back. Her name's Sylvie, and we don't have I don't know what the name. I think the establishment was named, but I couldn't find the name quickly.
If you go to IMDb, what I find is if you go to IMDb and you go to the episode cast, it will give you the smaller characters.
Yes, and she's there. Sylvie is there.
There you go. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that some serious full frontal nudity in this episode.
Oh yeah, I struggled. I struggled to find a clean shot.
There was one when the first curtain they pulled back. I was like, "Hello."
Yeah. No, I think I succeeded. I don't think there's any boobs in this
No,
photo.
it's a great shot of Eamon though. So.
Yeah, you got one guy buttoning up his pants, but you can't see anything, so we're okay.
Right.
All right.
Moving on. All
right. So Rhaenyra breaks the seal. There's not a lot to say about the scene, but I did get a shot of the actual seal and the note.
The seal's beautiful.
You can only see, yeah, it is. It's a really great design. But the note, it says something about battling all the blank, might also wish to, and to the mother. And it seems like mother is like capitalized as in the deity as part of the 7.
Yep. Right.
So you can't see exactly what she's saying, but clearly this is a plea for, amnesty.
I know you can get them the wax seal kit things, but I don't know. It'd be kind of fun to bring back that tradition. They're so cool. They're so neat.
I'll tell you what, if we ever do Christmas cards, let's do that.
Ooh.
Let's do a wax seal, Lorehound wax seal.
I like that. Oh, damn. That might actually be kind of cool. That would just like we need one more project. Like we need one more project, dear Lord.
I know.
All right. Moving on.
All right. Let's, there's not really anything to say about that except she read the note and she's looked a little emotional afterward.
Yeah.
Sir Gawain gets the Greens into a bind.
Mm-hmm.
He runs ahead of Criston Cole's army to find an inn and avoid camping, but Criston insists he return to camp. While they argue, Baela finds them on Moondancer and chases them into the forest.
This was a cool scene. I did not honestly know what was going to happen, and I was so surprised when Baela just didn't light their asses up. I was shocked. I was like, "Wait, what is Moondancer's flame range too short? Does it not?" I just couldn't understand what was going on until later when she says, "I didn't engage under your orders." When she tells Rhaenyra that, so
I think that was just an excuse, though, of why she didn't kill Cole.
No, I think she was straight up. I think she was straight up. I think Baela was straight up.
All right.
Yeah.
I also think she didn't want to burn down the whole forest doing it.
Why? It's just a few trees.
All right. Mr. Environmentalist over here.
Yeah.
David Lorehound, the environmentalist.
I was getting a serious
regular Jimmy Carter over here.
Put on a sweater. Turn the heat down. Eat some brown rice. I got some real Apocalypse Now vibes. I thought Kilgore and napalming the trees was going to happen, and I was shocked that it didn't. So
yeah.
But running full speed into the forest on horseback, that's just as scary as being chased by a dragon. Because if you one branch and you're hosed,
would have been kind of fun to see Gawain go flying off his horse.
I would have rather,
and it would have made total sense too if he died doing that.
Right.
But what I did really enjoy was Gawain looks down at himself afterwards. I'm pretty sure he wet his pants, and I'm not just saying that as a joke. I think he wet his pants.
Oh, interesting.
He was so scared.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past
he held his arms open, and he looked down in a way that the body language of it told me I just pissed myself.
Interesting.
Anyway, good scene overall. The horse armor looks great. Do you know the video game joke about horse armor?
No.
It destroyed the whole industry because the first microtransaction that ever happened in video games was Bethesda at least the first popular one was Bethesda in Oblivion, an Elder Scrolls game, where they said you can get this horse armor. And a lot of people bought it because they thought it actually buffed the horse. It did not. It was just a cosmetic armor. Okay. And that was the first cosmetic sold like that. And now every single game has here's a $10 skin. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. And so people blame it. They call it the horse armor that ruined gaming.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't realize that. That's great. You're right here. There's a scene where the dragon is flying overhead and they're looking up. Cole is looking very steely, but Gawain is absolutely shivering and completely freaked out. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I wouldn't put it past the story to have that have happened.
Look, he wet his pants. It's canon.
Okay.
It's canon now.
It's canon now. It's official.
Baela then reports back and reports her setting of Criston Cole to the Black Council, leading the council members to urge Rhaenyra to go to war. She agrees to take their advice into consideration. And what a beautiful shot I love when they get to light up the map, the table map.
Right.
And you have the maester there. Oh, what's his name? Look at that. Ready? You ready? We're going to go to the guide. We're going to go to the Blacks. and we are going to find Maester Gerardus.
Maester Gerardus.
And he is leaning over, trying to point to something. But yeah, the Black Council is so hungry for war.
Yeah. And it's an interesting notion to think about in this war where you've had a couple of tit for tats, but and really the Riverlands lords fighting is just a continuation of their animosity towards each other. But no one's really struck a first blow, because once that first punch lands, where it's actual war stuff going on, not little skirmishes or even family stuff that's accidentally out of control. I accidentally made a small mistake. Is that what your little GIF says?
I made a huge, tiny mistake.
That's what it was.
It's Will Arnett in Arrested Development, which, by the way, is the best comedy ever made.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Got it.
It's the correct opinion.
Is when the first strike that anybody uses with a dragon to actually Dracarys a whole, army or a portion of an army, that's going to change the game. It's going to change the stakes of the game. And all of Rhaenyra's advisors are pushing us to do that, land the first real blow. And she has a different goal, right? Which is to avoid that. And so her council and her are out of sorts of each other. And it's going to keep getting awkward and weird until they get on the same page.
To just push back a little bit,
please.
I do think that if you see the other armies going out and trying to take lands and trying to recruit people against you, the time for diplomacy has ended.
I agree. That's why I said, Broom may be an absolute tool, but he is not wrong.
Well, I think he was wrong earlier. I think there was still a chance of diplomacy earlier. Now that you see the armies are actually riding out, that's just it, right? That's it. You have to develop. Yeah. I'm not saying you need to go strike a blow, but you need to go out and physically gather forces. You can't send ravens. You have to do something. You have to do something like what Daemon's doing, right? He's actually the only one who's done something productive for the Black so far. Is he just took a castle.
Oddly enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Out of spite.
Of all the people.
Did you see my Will Ferrell meme of him?
No.
I did. There's.
Did I? Maybe I did. I
don't know what this clip is from, but it's Will Ferrell singing along to "I Don't Care, I Love It," and while driving, and I put that as
Damon, right. Yeah, I did see that one.
Damon right after his niece, wife, sister calls him pathetic, and so he ran off angrily, blasting his breakup playlist, and he took Harrenhal for her anyway. Yeah, but for himself really, because of course he goes, "Your Grace." I want to be addressed as Your Grace.
Well, and Rhaenys calls it early in the last episode. She says wherever he goes, he needs to be, he's got to be the big man. He
really needs an ankle monitor, right? R.I.P. Daemon, you would have loved ankle monitors. All right. Speaking of Daemon.
Yes.
Daemon's door begins rattling as if someone's trying to break into his quarters. He seeks whoever did this only to find a young Rhaenyra stitching Jaehaerys' head back on. He shows remorse and drops his sword only to find himself in the Godswood of Harrenhal. There, Alice Rivers tells Daemon he will die in this place.
Interesting, right? This whole thing, like the door shaking, the camera angles on this were great too, like being up with the drips dripping down, the whole Harrenhal spooky haunted house thing. The whole vibe is great. And then to see Millie, that was like so cool. I was like,
oh yeah, I was like, I was pointing at the screen. I was doing the Leo meme.
Yes, right? Millie with the creepy baby head. It was so weird.
For a second, I was like, did they film this during season 1? But I thought about it and I was like, nah, because the kid wouldn't have been old enough to be cast then. Like that probably is a doll, but still, like you wouldn't have had the mold of the kid, right? Because so the kid wouldn't have been old enough for it. So yeah, I think they just brought her back for a day.
So what's her name here? Alice Rivers. Alice Rivers, here it is. I see it. Of course, it's Alys. Anyway.
Thanks, George.
It's what is it? Wiffo? What's the word now?
Waffo.
this is just a giant waffo stamp, right? Boom. We can't. Come on. Like, I need more. Like, don't.
She's really witchy.
This.
She's really mysterious.
I think I said in our hot take right after the episode came out was the moment I saw her on screen when she walked into the side there after Damon burst in the room. The first thing I tried to do was like, does she have red hair? Because I thought she looked like Melisandre. I thought she had very witchy vibes.
Yeah, and it's not her.
No, clearly not. But it was just like, boom, that was like, oh, this is that kind of character. So.
Yeah, she's doing some sort of magic, it seems like. At least prophesying, right?
Yeah, some sort of sight thing. I grabbed a screenshot of the wide shot at the end of this little scene.
And you failed to put alt text on it, I see.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right, I'll do it.
Thank you. You're better at that than me. I just was putting it in there before. Anyway, I'm no excuses.
That's okay. I'm messing with you.
Yes. That tree over the edge of the lake, that's just so cool. That is just such a cool ass creepy spot. Weird tree for sure. God's wood, however you want to describe this. It's a perfect place for Damon to end up with this whole vision thing. And she says, you're going to die in this place. But what does that mean? When he's an old man, tomorrow, in 5 minutes, part of the war.
Right.
Is
he going to be visiting his grandson, who's now a liege lord of there? When I was young, I fought for your grandmother, sister, uncle, wife, niece, cousin.
All good stuff. I'm excited to see the resolution.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen.
No,
it's interesting that he doesn't chase after her either, right?
No,
I think
right. He's totally
so
stunned.
freaked out. He doesn't know. He's stunned, but he also doesn't know if she's the one who did that to him, and he doesn't know if she could do it again.
Did she do it to him?
That's the question. Did she?
Yeah.
Did she? Did Harrenhal do it? Did the Godswood do it?
Love it.
Yeah. By the way, you were going back and forth with the terms. I just want to make clear the Godswood would be the place where the were tree lived.
Right.
Where the werewood lived.
Right.
Anyway.
So, there's a weirwood tree here. Is this a Godswood? Because I
think that's what the visual language says.
Yeah.
I think so.
We need a maester to write in.
But it's pretty decrepit, isn't it?
Completely.
Yeah.
All right.
Alice Rivers, very cool character.
Can't wait.
Waffo. And I also want to talk about Damon's guilt here. He looks really remorseful in a way that we've never seen him.
Right? I am always cleaning up after you. And here he is staring at this beheaded baby.
The mockery. Millie really sold it. The always coming and going, and here I am, always cleaning up after you.
And to have it be the young Rhaenyra, right? Not the contemporary one, is even more, just more spookiness.
I think that's how he sees her. I think
that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Which is even creepier. He really groomed her. He really did. He
purposely, from the first scene.
And he purposely made her honor, I'm speaking in show terms. This is not how it works in the real world, but deliberately put her, integrity in question so that he would be given her. Didn't work. But he's always been working to groom her.
Yep.
And she sees that last episode for the first time.
Yes. Yeah. Like the full extent of it and the truth of it, rather than the exoticness or the fun or whatever, the allure of it, the young allure of it. She really sees it for what it really is.
I'm just realizing something about Rhaenyra and Mysaria, and it's not that Rhaenyra had pity for Mysaria just as one person to another. I think Rhaenyra, after her last conversation with Daemon, sees herself and Mysaria as two of Daemon's victims.
Totally.
Two people who are victims of Daemon's conduct.
When Rhaenyra gives her that long look and Mysaria says, "Oh, you remember me now." And it was on that balance point of them, trading stories about Daemon, sort of little intimacies that they know. Oh, yeah, he's like that, isn't he? He's always running off, And she's like, yeah, oh, yeah, and now I remember you. That was that pivotal moment where they were able to, where at least Rhaenyra was able to see in that new light. of,
Right.
oh yeah, this is just one of Damon's victims.
Right.
As am I.
And they're finally starting to find their flow. And you see in the next scene on her first day on the job.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of people's first day on the job this episode, isn't it? You got Damon, Aegon's Kingsbros. That's what I'm going to call them. The
Kingsbros. That's good. I like it. Better than
instead
F-boys.
of the Kingsguard. Yeah.
Yeah. Kingsbros. I like it.
He's got Aegon's Kingsbros.
Oof, getting late.
I know it is getting late. I'm leaving this.
Leaving it in.
Aegon's Kingsbros alongside Crispin Cole being the hand of the king, alongside Gwaine, right?
Yep.
Gwaine is joining the front, and now Mysaria. So Rhaenyra asks Mysaria to get her a meeting with Alicent. Mysaria expresses that it will be difficult, but she knows one place Alicent goes alone. The minute she says that, of course, we know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's what Mysaria... That's where Rhaenyra used to hang out with her before they had their falling out.
And I love the fact that it's also where they drug Aegon out from underneath of. Right? So, remember that? Yeah. She sent him there.
That's pretty
Eric
funny.
and Eric. I just like Mysaria. I'm just so glad she's joined the team, and I love her. I love this new robe that she's got. That's a dope ass robe. I want one of those. I don't know. I'd wear it well, but I just love the styling of it. I'm just chuffed to see her there. So I'm happy. I'm just really happy with this episode.
Me too. It's a really good episode. It's a lot of good character development. I know some people are frustrated that there's not a lot of action yet, but did Game of Thrones have a lot of action? I mean, there is action, right? The action is the conversations,
the tension, and the tension of this next scene, right? It's so good.
Yep. All right.
Speaking of which,
let's get into the meat of it. Rhaenyra visits Alicent. Rhaenyra sneaks into King's Landing as a septa. She makes her way to the Grand Sept. I had to correct myself. This is the Grand Sept. There will be a Great Sept later.
Okay.
To speak to Alicent about preventing the war. When Alicent insists Viserys changed his mind about her succession, Rhaenyra asks, what exactly did he say? Alicent mentions the prince that was promised, and Rhaenyra tells her it was a prophecy involving Aegon the Conqueror, not her son, Aegon II. Alicent realizes she misunderstood Viserys, but doubles down on there being no mistake. She makes clear that without Otto, she has lost control of the situation.
So this whole thing, in a weird way, reminds me of the same situation with Strong's sons instead of the whole bastard child thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows it's what the situation is, but there's a physical reality, but the social reality, the social construct has to be something else. So she says there's no mistake. We can't. Meaning,
we can't. I can't hit undo, buddy.
Yeah, there's no control Z here, right? This is where we're at. So, and the idea that both of these women now have to sort of watch in horror as these two giant war machines start to grind together, and there's nothing they can do or say to change it. They can deflect it slightly, maybe, or end it shorter. Maybe a kind of pull a Harry Seldon, right? Shorten the darkness.
Right.
But it's going to happen no matter what. There's nothing to be done.
Right. And it's really tragic. I mean, I think Alicent realizes that she completely botched this whole thing. Absolutely, she realizes it.
Yeah.
But what is she going to do at this point?
Yeah.
She's completely lost the whole plot. And that's so sad.
Yeah,
I mean, both of them had great facial acting. This scene,
so good.
I think Emma Darcy overdid it a little bit at some points. The shock on Rhaenyra's face really was a little overdone for me. Like, oh my god, he said the prince that was promised. Little too much, but overall, I thought the scene was really great. Got emotional at the right times. Reacted appropriately every other time. So, just nitpicks. Olivia Cook, no notes. I mean, the look of I totally botched this whole thing was just amazing. Or if I could quote Arrested Development,
I made a huge tiny mistake.
Okay. There's another great scene or clip of her face when we don't see Rhaenyra's face. We just see the hand come in to grab a tallow and then to light a candle off of it. And Alicent looks up like completely annoyed, like, who's this septa that's sitting this? I want to pray by myself. Like, Ooh, it's like, I'm on the train.
Brother,
I'm on this. Ooh, brother. Ooh, I'm on the train all by myself. And then you come and sit down next to me. And there's no, there's tons of other seating available. And you come sit next to me. Like, what's up?
All right. Should we talk about the urinal rule that every man knows and no woman has ever been told about?
Oh, right. Where you have to leave space between yourself.
You do every other, buddies. It's every other, unless it's full. If it's full, you're permitted to take an extra one. You don't see a line of 10 urinals and go to 2 when somebody's on 1.
Or the made famous in Fight Club, where when you're passing somebody in tight quarters, which way you orient your body.
I don't know that one. Maybe it's automatic.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. That's it. It is. If you're you go butt to butt, right? So you don't go genital to butt. Sorry. We're getting weird. It's time to go to bed. It's time to wrap this.
It is time to go to bed.
Good thing we're not doing feedback tonight.
I know. Yeah. Could you imagine? I think that this was a great idea that we had to just split it off. And thankfully we have Nancy so that neither of us have to be like, did you gather feedback? No. Did you?
Dude, the fact that we have somebody wrangling feedback is a huge boon for us with all the other things that we've got going on. So
Yep.
All right. Well, this was awesome. This was an awesome scene. I feel for Lord Darkland, Ser Darkland, the Kingsguard that's sitting outside having to wait for all of this to unfold. The dude looked stressed.
He's totally normal. He's not. the guy looks like, oh, look, if we were doing D&D, he's not a cleric class, right? Like, you look at his face, he's not a cleric.
No, he's a cleric with a knife up his sleeve.
Right, exactly. Exactly. If he's a paladin, he's definitely an Oathbreaker paladin.
For sure,
right?
For sure.
Right. All right. Let's talk about what we're doing next, right? Oh, by the way, if you want to get in feedback before our feedback episode, you can send it to hotd@thelorehounds.com, or you can go to the contact form on our website, thelorehounds.com. You can also go on the Discord and at us and Nancy, which is 2 Kids, 2 Dogs, over on the Discord. Many ways to get us feedback. Choose one.
Voicemail. Send in voicemails. Voicemails.
Oh, yeah. Very exciting stuff. All right. Let's talk about what's going on the Lorehounds Network this week. I've been doing a weekly schedule, which has been really helpful to remember what is actually happening because we have so much going on.
We do.
Here on the Lorehounds public feed, we've got House of the Dragon regular coverage, feedback coverage, and the hot takes every Sunday. And the hot takes are only for subscribers on Patreon or Supercast.
Right.
So
they're like 15-ish minutes we get on right after the episode, just sort of talk about our thoughts and our feelings of the episode, and then I get that out as soon as possible.
Right. All right, we've also got Second Breakfast coming out this week on Hotel Breakfasts, and then the Fifth Element will be our Lemsies movies. I watched that before we recorded tonight. Bruce Willis is a problem, and we need to talk about it. Anyway.
Anyway, zip. I'm not saying nothing.
All right, let's save it for Second Breakfast.
Exactly.
Or Lemsies, rather.
Save it for the pod.
Yep. Rings and Rituals. We'll be back next week with an interview with me. I'm going to be on there talking about the music of season 1 of The Rings of Power.
Very cool.
Very exciting stuff. We recorded that like 4 months ago, so I don't remember what I said. It's going to be a surprise to me too.
Yep.
All right. The Star Wars Complete Canon Timeline podcast is, of course, doing the Acolyte with me again, but also the Canon Ancient Myths of Batu. I don't know what that means, and I'm excited for it.
I heard words, but I don't know what they mean.
Right. You are speaking a language. All right. And Radioactive Ramblings is continuing with the boys this week, but they'll be doing season 4, episode 5. Beware of the Jabberwock, my son. What a title.
I got to catch up. I'm so far behind on that right now.
Properly Howard movie review just wrapped up its season, so they'll be back sometime soon. But Will Shift Us is also on a break while Alicia focuses on some Star Wars stuff. So plenty of stuff going on. Lots of Hot D. This is Hot D summer.
Can I plug my Alien project too?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know when that was coming out, so I didn't.
Yeah. It's going to be all just so new Alien movie called Alien Romulus. It's dropping. It's going wide August 16th. So a week after that, we're going to have a typical, we're going to have a one shot and we're going to break down the movie like normal, start with spoiler-free hot takes and then get into the movie. So that's the week after August 16th. The week before August 16th, I just recorded today with Aisha from Every Single Sci-Fi Film Ever, that podcast. We do a trailer breakdown and talk about Aliens and the franchise in general and our personal histories with the franchise and stuff. We had a really great conversation. And prior to that, we have two podcasts that are going to one's in the can and one is yet to be scheduled, where first, Ron, and this is all very complex, isn't it? Part one is Ron and I talking about the 1979 film because it's the 45th anniversary of that film being released. And then part two, Aisha and I from Every Single Sci-Fi Film are going to interview two academics to talk about AI, issues about AI and about labor relationships and all of this social history and construct stuff that goes on to the making of Alien. Then we'll have the trailer breakdown, and then we'll have the one shot for the Alien movie. So we've got basically a 4-part podcast coming out around Alien. So I'm really excited for all of that. It's been a lot of fun putting it together.
Very cool. Very cool. So subscribe to the Firehose feed if you're listening to us here on the Hot D feed, where you are always welcome to listen to all the crazy stuff we have coming out. You're always welcome to come for early and ad-free access to all our podcasts on Patreon or Supercast.
Get the show guide.
The season pass, yep. The
$10. The show guide. You get the show guide with the season pass. The season pass is $10. It's easy.
If you subscribe in any of these ways, you get the show guide. Let's just say that.
Yeah, we'll put it that way.
All right. Now,
yes.
I'm going to hijack the shout-outs, even though I did the show notes, because, David, I have a surprise for you that you requested. Let's do our quick Patreon shout-outs, Patreon Supercast shout-outs. First, our Discord server boosters, Gnarls, Aaron K, Tiller the Thriller, Dorka the Ninjas, Duve71, Captain Gingy 56, and Athena A. Core Masters, Samartian, Michael G, Michelle E, David W, Brian P, SC, Peter OH, Bettina W, Adam S, Nancy M, Duve71, Brian 8063, Frederick H, Sarah L, Gareth C, Eric F, Matthew M, Sarah M, DJ Miwa, Andra B, Kwang Yu, Deadeye Jedi Bob, Nathan T, Alex V, Aaron T, Sub-Zero, Aaron K, Dally V, Mothership 61, Gnarls, and Kathy W, Stuart B, and Adrian, who still hasn't written in telling me how to say his name. Thank you, everyone. Did you enjoy the new jazz soundtrack for all?
I think it's great. I think it was a little loud, but I mean, you can adjust that in post.
Oh yeah, that'll be.
That's easy, but I think it's. Did you make that or did you get that?
Oh no, I was on Humble Bundle. You ever use Humble Bundle?
Yes, I know. Yeah, Humble Bundle. Lots of RPG Humble Bundles.
For $20, they had like 1,000 sounds basically. And I was like, okay, I could always use sounds for the pod or something like that. And so this is, I own it. I licensed it. So
excellent.
We are paying the creators. Don't worry. And so I figured I would look for a little soft jazz kind of thing.
I got a real smile on my face. I think it's great. I wonder what people think. What do you think? Is it good?
Somebody's going to be like, I hate this. Jazz is... I was traumatized by jazz when I was 10. And if you ever play that again, I'm unsubscribing.
I don't know. I think it's just kind of I don't know, just nice. Little energy as we go out the door,
There you go. All right, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by The Lorehounds. You can send questions and feedback and voicemails at thelorehounds.com/contact. Get early and ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities. Thanks for listening. This summer, we enter a new era of Star Wars.
You mean the Dawn of the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast?
Yeah, sure, that too. But I was obviously talking about The Acolyte. We've got to cover that on the Lorehounds.
Oh, but the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast is exactly at that point in the timeline, the end of the High Republic, 100 years before the prequel trilogy. We've got to cover it there.
Why not both?
Okay, deal.
It's the first live-action Star Wars outside the Skywalker saga. Nobody can miss this.
Listeners, kick off your Hot Lore summer weekends with scene-by-scene breakdowns of The Acolyte, found in both the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast and the Lorehounds Mother feed.
And the Lorehounds Star Wars feed.
Wherever you like to listen, a couple of days after each new episode is released.